So shortly after 2 o'clock today, there was a shots fired call to Omaha South High School. The preliminary information that we have right now is there is a 911 call of a student being shot in a part of the building, and that there was a suspect on a separate floor. The school resource officer was on scene immediately and started searching and did not locate anybody. As officers arrived, they did a methodical search of the school, searched the bathrooms, all classrooms and everything. No victims were found, no suspect was found. We do believe this was a hoax. Nobody's injured, nobody's hurt. As we speak, we are still searching the building just to double check everything. We are releasing the students, and parents and guardians can find their students over at the football stadium south of the high school for reunification. And any special needs students, they are going to have the regularly scheduled bus that's going to pick them up to make sure that they get home safely.
Were any shots fired by anyone today?
No shots were fired. Not that we found thus far. Again, we do believe this was a hoax, a swatting call where someone called in and initiated a police response and fire response.
Was there a transport of any kind, or was that unrelated?
That I'm not aware of. It might have been unrelated. We did have, I believe, multiple ambulances here. Obviously, normal protocol for a incident like this if there was an active shooter or any sort of incident that would have happened inside the school.
It's got to be a relief, obviously, no victims. How frustrating is it to respond to a call like this and find it to be a hoax?
You know, to say it's frustrating, I don't want to go that far. We want people to call. We want to show up. We want to do our job and make sure that everyone's safe. And when we show up, it's actually a relief rather than frustration. We don't want anybody to get hurt. We don't want any lives lost, and we surely don't want to show up to an incident where something actually did happen. It actually goes into good training, where we're able to search a building and do what we normally do in these types of situations. And if there was an active shooter, this is good to get the officers and firefighters and everybody that responds to these types of incidents or would respond to an actual incident, get them the reps that they need to do what they need to do if that was to happen.
Did you say, was there a loud noise or anything associated with this call, or just the call?
No, just the call. There was no loud noise or anything like that. Like I said, the school resource officer that belongs to South High School that we provide them. He was on scene. He was able to search immediately before other officers arrived. Did a great job. Was able to put out information to the administration, make sure that they had the information that they needed. And it seems like thus far it was a pretty seamless process with OPS administration here at South High School as well.
Will it come from a phone call or an email, or what kind of?
It sounds like it came from a phone call. Obviously, we'll look into where that phone call was placed if we're able to trace it and get any information like that. We have in the past had some success in tracing those calls back to other individuals and been able to prosecute them for other incidents as well.
It wasn't just Omaha Resources here. Can you talk to what different agencies local that are partnered here?
Sure. Just off the top of my head, what I did see was Omaha agencies and then Douglas County Sheriff's Office. It appeared that there was some state patrol as well, and I guarantee there was some unmarked cars from federal agencies around the metro area as well.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't South High School the site earlier in the year of a hoax shooting call? It was kind of a statewide problem.
I don't recall. I know that we had multiple different threats, whether they were online or 911 calls, and obviously we're seeing a trend of those. Students will post, various names, and those schools, they're not just here in Omaha, but they're in different states and everything. So we do follow up with any information that we can find and try our very best to deem those not credible for locally, but we do happen to find that some of these originate from out of state. But like I said, we follow our protocol, make sure that everything's safe, everyone is taken care of, and make sure that we do our due diligence on our side to ensure the public safety and our students' safety.
What do you say to those people or students or whoever it might have been that makes a false call like this and prompts a response like this?
Sure. Well, obviously, this is a very serious situation. It prompted a lot of resources, whether that be law enforcement or fire and rescue, and even with school resources and everything. So it's not okay. Obviously, again, we're very glad and relieved that we showed up and there was nobody hurt and nobody injured, and that this was a hoax. And but again, we're glad to show up and that it's safe, and students are able to go home to their families, and staff are able to go home to their families as well.
Anything that we've left out?
I don't believe so.
Do you know what the penalties are for a hoax like this?
That I don't know off the top of my head. I know that there have been students prosecuted in the past for various things like terroristic threats, those types of things. But it also can reach into the federal statutes and everything as well. It just kind of depends. We do work very closely with the FBI and other federal agencies when these do happen, and try and trace that information back to see if we can make an arrest, or at least have an idea of who was doing this. That's obviously in early stages at this point, but yeah, that's all I really have.
Do you know how many students were evacuated today, or?
I know, just based on what the school resource officer was saying right before I walked out here to speak with you all, it's about 3,000 students. I don't know if they were all here. They do have some early release students that are able to leave earlier in the day. I know they've already left, but our agency and the other law enforcement agencies were moving throughout the building pretty methodically, just to make sure, releasing each classroom one at a time to make sure that they were safe in doing so, and getting them to the football stadium to be reunited with their family and guardians.